It's a competition clinching shot. Whoa! How about that?
The LET Golf Podcast, the official podcast of the Ladies European Tour.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the LET Golf Podcast, the exclusive podcast of the Ladies European Tour, where each week we go behind the scenes to chat to the stars of the show. I'm George Cooper, back after another exciting week of action, and joining me as always to wrap it all up is media official Nicola Kenton. Nicola, how are you?
Very good, George. Back in the UK after a few weeks away, but very good over here.
Yeah, it's about time, I'd say. So like I said, we had a very exciting week again on tour. Aramco Team Series Singapore is in the history books. Plenty of storylines, an insane winner. What went down, Nicola?
As you say, the first Aramco Team Series event of the year. We have 5 throughout the year. So the first one took place in Singapore at Laguna National. And it was the return of both competitions, so the team competition and the individual competition. So it was Team Wolf who ended up winning the 2-day team competition. The team was made up of Austria's Christine Wolf, South Africa's Cassandra Alexander, England's Eleanor Givens, and their amateur Katsoko. And yeah, they just basically put in an absolutely storming performance. Ellie Givens is kind of on the comeback road this year, having been off with a medical last year, and she's really hit the ground running. Has been improving week on week. And last week, she said it was some of the best golf she's absolutely played during her comeback so far. She's really happy with where her game is, and she's really good friends with Christine, so that helped in terms of the team vibe. Having two such good friends on the team, and Cassandra Alexander, Cass, she's been successful in that team event before, winning in Jeddah twice. First part of Team Pedersen in 2020, the inaugural edition, and then also as part of Team Garcia last year in November. So she's got form in that event, and it was Cass who sealed the deal with her birdie putt on 18 to get the team get that trophy on Friday afternoon. And then on to Saturday, so heading into the final day, we had 3 players at the top of the leaderboard, with South Africa's Nicole Garcia, France's Pauline Boussaint, and American Danielle Kang. And it was the young French woman who came out on top. Pauline came out firing on Saturday. It was one of those days where you see a golfer has a round of golf and they're just absolutely in the zone. That is what happened. Flawless day, 64, just absolutely everything went right for her. Nothing went wrong in any shape or form. And yeah, came out with her second LET title. First one was 18 months ago after she just turned pro. So second one, and she's ready to kick on now on the LPGA for the rest of the season, kind of come back and forth between the two tours.
Yeah, she sure did. And I think what was most impressive about the victory was sort of who she saw off in order to get it. I mean, you mentioned shooting 64 in the final round, but it's not easy when you got the world number one, Lydia Ko, going birdie, birdie, birdie to start the day and pile on all that pressure. Like to get the victory in the way that she did, when she had her and Danielle Kang breathing down her neck was just extraordinary, really.
As you say, yeah, Lydia was a few shots back going into the start of the day, but you can never rule her out. As you say, world number one, someone who won on the LET just a few weeks ago. And yeah, started well, birdie, birdie, birdie on the first 3 holes, and everyone suddenly went, oh, she's coming. She ended up with a 66, which is actually her aim for the day, to try and put herself into contention. As you said, she ended up finishing in 3rd place, with Danielle Kang just ahead. 1 stroke better. And then, as you say, Pauline, just the fact it was her day. Nothing went wrong. And yeah, she had her boyfriend Bruce on the bag, and her mum was also in the crowd. And her mum was on the bag for her first victory in Sweden a couple of years ago. So it's just, she was very calm, relaxed, and had great energy last week.
Yeah, I love that. I think that quote afterwards sort of summed it up, didn't it? Where they said, "How did you stay so calm out there? You had Lydia Ko, Danielle Kang breathing down your neck." And she said, "Oh, I was just chatting about TV shows. You know, what am I going to watch after this round?" And it seemed to keep her nice and stable. So, if anyone out there is listening, how do you stay calm on a golf course? Just chat about Netflix or whatever. It seemed to work for Pauline. So yeah, really, really good win. It was a great performance again from many of the LET core. I mean, we had Clara Davidson Spilkova again in the top 10. Nicole Brock Estrup was up there again, and Chiara Noy was all up there again. I mean, they're like 3 of the most consistent performers we've had all season, aren't they, really?
Yeah, as you say, Clara and Nicole have definitely been up there in the past few
Yeah.
weeks in South Africa and then going on to Singapore. And in the race to Costa del Sol, they sit 11th and 12th at the minute, kind of meriting their consistent start to the season. But as you say, it was also LET core up there. Lynn Grant obviously finishing the top 10, as did fellow Swede Ellen Arvidsson, who had a final round of 67. And they were actually both in Team Grant during the week, so they had a very good time. Michelle Thompson also put in a 67 on the final day, as did rookie Trishat Chimglab. So there were lots of great scores happening. And yeah, Kiara Neuer just outside the top 10 last week, but it was her birthday during the week. She's now 17, winner on the LET. But yeah, she's also had another consistent start to the season. Sits ninth in the race to Costa del Sol. So as you say, we've kind of seen who's really got their game together for the start of the season, and it'll be interesting to see how when we come back for the longer stretch, European stretch in the summer, who's kind of tapped into their game a bit more.
Right, I think that moves us nicely onto our guest for this week. So our guest this week represents the LET through and through. A former player, Spanish-born Alexandra Armas competed on tour between 2001 and 2005, when she also served as a player director. With a background in economics, Armas was chosen by the board to become the tour's executive director before she vacated the position in 2012. Having left to set up her own sports marketing agency, Alex then returned as CEO in 2020, where she has since guided the tour through the pandemic before playing a pivotal role in growing the LET schedule. Alex has seen it all when it comes to the LET, so after announcing a record-breaking schedule in 2023, we couldn't wait to chat to her and, of course, test her knowledge on all things LET. So without further ado, our guest this week on the LET Golf Podcast is none other than the boss, our CEO, Alexandra Armas. Enjoy. Alex, thanks for joining us on the LET Golf Podcast.
Hello, George. How are we doing?
Hello, yeah, I'm good. How are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad. I feel like I should be out in South Africa rather than in snowy England, but yeah, no, good, all good. Hmm.
Yeah, tell me about it. I had Nicola giving me weather updates all of yesterday, and I was sat here in the snow. Golf course closed. It's like, come on, really, guys?
I know it's
But
March,
yeah,
but that should be the final stretch of it. Hmm.
that's it. Yeah, but no, thanks for coming on. What have you sort of made of the season so far?
It's been great. It's been a really interesting start. Obviously kind of kicking off in Kenya and our schedule has a bit of a globe-trotting feel at the beginning of the year, but I guess yeah, as we were talking a little while ago about the weather, we have to go to places where it's warmer. So yeah, some very picturesque destinations that we've had, Kenya, and then Morocco, and Saudi Arabia, and now in down in South Africa. So no, I think it's been good and really good golf and really good results. So I think we're looking good for the year.
Yeah, definitely. And who's sort of, I know we've obviously got a DT Ashok leading the race to Costa del Sol at the moment, but who else has sort of impressed you so far?
Um, I mean, I think Aditi's story is just brilliant, and it's kind of one of those that just shows that kind of performance and qualifying yourself, winning a tournament, and then qualifying for the Aramco Saudi Ladies International. I think that was just a brilliant start to the season. I loved again that Maya and Lynn battled it out for Morocco. Um, but I think, obviously, as you were mentioning the scores this week, Chiara Noye as a new player on tour, and her results have been really strong, and some other rookies that are coming on. So I think we have a really good, strong class of players for this rookie year.
Yeah, I think I heard you mention before that you think this is, well, I guess statistically it is as well, but you said it's the strongest, rookies that we have. And Q score was the strongest Q score that we had as well, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, the strength of our schedule has put the LET on a lot of players' objectives now. We had a lot of entries for Q School. We also run a regional qualifier in Asia, which was well attended for the first time that we did that for a number of years. And we had, I think it was about 30, 40 players that didn't manage to get in. So, it's kind of a lot of interest, but also the players that went are very, very strong. I mean, that's tough week, and luckily I didn't have to I didn't have to go and compete there. But from the players that did, the word back is that some very strong players. I think we'll be seeing again quite a few rookies winning on season. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely, it's exciting for sure. And I think, I mean, we'll go into more detail on it, but the Aramco Saudi Ladies International a couple of weeks ago, and I think it sort of showed how far the LET's come in that you had these big name LPGA players obviously coming over to play, and our girls held their own, and even I think I heard Lexi Thompson in the press conference saying, wow, this is one of the strongest fields we're actually playing in, yet it's still an LET event. So I think that's testament to the tour and sort of how far it's come.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the players on LET have definitely um, been very strong for a number of years, but also it helps having a regular schedule. I think that's key for players to be able to perform, to gain some momentum. Um, so the fact that we can kind of play more regularly definitely helps the performance. The prize funds, and obviously the Aramco Saudi Ladies International with $5 million prize fund is a significant event in the women's game, and attracted some of the top players in the world, and it's great for LET players to play against the top ranked players in the world, and kind of see where they're at with the game, and see that they're also very capable.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you've touched on the schedule there a few times. How important is it to have so many events and have our players playing consistency, and B, how important is it to stage events all over the world?
Oh, woof, there's a lot of answers to to those two questions, but yeah, I mean, it's important for many reasons to have a strong schedule, and that was a focus that we had when we kicked off in 2020 with the new relationship with the LPGA, was to populate the schedule, and the reason, not only from a player's perspective that it's important, is their job, and they have to have opportunities to earn money. But the more you play, you can also become more competitive. But also, it allows us to be more visible on a more regular basis through our television telecast, but also through other media outlets, and build our fan base. So, from many reasons, it's important and a key aspect of our business. And I guess to your second question on how important is it for us to go around the world and play tournaments. I mean, I think it's again is playing opportunities, but also we enjoy co-sanctioning and collaborating with a number of tours around the world, and we work with federations too, and we feel that there is a significant purpose to what we do, to work on those kind of grassroots pathways and give players from different countries the opportunity to experience golf at an elite level, and also define kind of pathways for them to get to the top of the game. It's not easy, players kind of growing up in various countries, to kind of realize how they can get to the top of the game. And it's not always easy. So I think it's part of our responsibility that any young, talented player willing to work hard enough can play their way to the top of the game. And I think that's a real relevant point of also going to many new territories.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously this year we got 31 events, including the Soham Cup, up for 35 million euros up for grabs, which is just amazing. What sort of events are you most excited about?
Um, I mean, I don't know. I mean, all events are exciting, to be honest, because every
All
every
of them, all
event,
of them.
yeah, every event has its unique story, and there's always something that pans out. I mean, that's the beauty of competitive sports. So I think they're all quite special in their own way. I mean, Solheim Cup, that only happens in Europe once every 4 years. That is definitely the pinnacle of the women's game, and playing it in Spain for the first time is I mean, also from a personal perspective, being Spanish, really particularly looking forward to that week.
Yeah, definitely. So you've touched on the LET, Alex. but now we've got to come to you. It's the reason you're on this podcast.
Oh, really? Okay.
It is, yeah, it is. So you're our CEO, and you've been with us now as CEO since 2020. But let's sort of take it back to the beginning, if you don't mind, because obviously I would describe you as LET through to its core. You're a player. You're on the player advisory board. You became CEO. It's a great story. So let's go back to the beginning, for everyone. So sort of, how did you get into golf, and what are your golfing memories as a kid?
Oh wow, you're going to age me now. But
No, no.
yeah, no. So how did I get? I mean, I come from a quite a sporting family. Grew up doing a lot of sports. I grew up in the Canary Islands. That's where I'm from, and obviously, it has nice weather, and we do a lot of outdoor activities. So always playing sports. Probably played more tennis as I was younger, and then golf wasn't particularly popular in the 80s when I started playing, but there was kind of a shift from people that were playing tennis into golf. And I guess I mean my mom took up the game, and me and my brother were still young, so we had to tag along and started hitting balls and enjoyed it, and kind of then became my primary sport. I spent all my weekends there with my friends and just knocking about and yeah, causing havoc probably. But it was a great environment to grow up. From there, I started qualifying for various teams, from the club team to the national team. So I played for Spain for I guess from the age of about 13 till I left for college. Went for college on a golf scholarship and got an economics degree in the US. Um, then I stopped playing. Funny enough, I had no intention after that to play golf again. And came to London to study a master's degree. And then after that, I always tell the story that I kind of started commuting on the underground in London, and I wasn't quite ready for that. So I'm like, well, I'll give professional golf a chance. I didn't hold much hope in getting my card. I said, well, if I get my card, great. If not, then I'll have to kind of deal with the underground in rush hour. Luckily, I did get my card and just started kind of then playing professional, which I'm glad I did. It was a great experience, even though it wasn't something that I had planned. I'm glad I did, and it's something that definitely I hold very fond memories of that period. And then, yeah, as part of being on tour, I was elected onto the board of directors, and then from the board of directors, as we're going through a restructure, at one stage, I was asked whether I'd consider becoming more permanent on the business side and full time as executive director, which with my background of having been involved in women's golf all my life as a player, but also educated in business, I thought that was a great opportunity, and opportunities like that don't come along very often. So I definitely went for it.
So is that something that just, it sounds to me like that role just sort of, fell into your lap in a way. You had your business background, but you were obviously still playing. How does that actually come about? Is it someone come up to you and say, "Hey, look, we wanna promote you," or like how does that even happen? Like to me, the professional
Yeah.
golfer, like if you would say that now, someone on tour, and then suddenly now they're the CEO, I just think it's incredible. But how does that come about?
I mean, probably two things. Yeah, I was very lucky. And I was in the right place at the right time. As you say, there's not many opportunities. A lot of people would love to work in sports, and it's
Mm,
just very limited opportunities. And I think, I was approached by the board to become a player director originally, based on my background with my studies. And then when I was on the board, I was quite proactive, and it was the board of directors that then decided whether that I'd be a suitable candidate, I guess,
right.
for the CEO role. And that's kind of how it happened in my case. Because it definitely
Yeah.
wasn't part of my ambitions at any stage. I never thought when I started. I mean, coming as I say, especially maybe in the UK, it's more obvious that it's a job opportunity. But coming up from the Canary Islands and in Spain, you never envisioned working in sports as a possible career. So um, yeah, definitely wasn't something that I was thriving for. It probably found me more than me finding it. Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I mean, we're speaking today on International Women's Day, but sort of how is it for you, taking on a senior position, a business position in a, obviously sport is, especially mid 2000s, it's just a male dominated sport. So, how did you adapt to that and sort of what were the challenges you faced upon taking the role?
I mean, I think, you know, it is male dominated, but when I took on the role, first time and the second time, it's not about, kind of that changing the industry in any way. It's more about what the job is about and what I need to do. So I don't kind of think about it as, is it, a male CEO or a female CEO? But it is often that, there is in meetings or whatever, maybe this only female, or is
Mm.
kind of a much lesser number of females than the males in the industry environment. So, but I mean, I don't think in particularly it's been challenging. But I think hopefully having more kind of a diverse input into the industry will help the industry also kind of grow and widen its potential.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess you're in as good a position as anyone to say this, but you've seen the attitudes change throughout your time, or how much have you seen the attitudes change throughout your time? I guess towards women in sport and towards women's golf as well. I guess.
It's definitely changed. I think, there has been a lot of talk about, female empowerment over the years now,
Mm.
and female athletes getting recognized for their talents. For a long time, I guess there's kind of this general societal opinion potentially that, women's sports are just a lesser equivalent of the men's sports, but in reality, they're as strong, and as interesting, in their own right. So that kind of comparison just doesn't really, make any sense. And thankfully, through time, that has become a lot more acceptable, and we see a lot more women's sports now on mainstream television, and we have a lot more role models that are female athletes, and household names that we recognize in various sports, and that is hugely important for the whole of women's sports, and that impacts similarly in women's golf.
Yeah, definitely. And what about the actual LET itself? So you come on this tour in 2001 as a player, you take on the business role in 2005. Here we are in 2023. We've got a record-breaking schedule, more events, more money. It's great. What was the state of the tour when you took over, and how far have you seen that change?
Back in 2005, or when I joined
Yeah.
in 2000
Yeah, well, both 2001 and
yeah.
2005. Like for me, I've just come in this year, and it's things are moving upwards. But I imagine it wasn't perhaps the case back then.
Yeah, I mean, we had a quite a strong stretch. I mean, when I joined in 2005, I mean, when I was playing, we didn't have many tournaments. And then part of the reason why I joined the board, was because of the limited number of opportunities. And, we made some good progress back then. And I think we went from maybe 15 tournaments up to about 28 tournaments, I think, in 2007, something like that. Then we had obviously the financial crisis in 2008. So there's always something in a cycle. If you're around long enough, there's always some sort of crisis. But we managed to kind of weather those, and we had the tour was in a good and sustainable position. It had good finances. So we made good progress, but I think what I find, probably that has changed the most is the interest in from kind of the corporate world, in women's sports, and highlighting female athletes, but also seeing the value of investing in women's sports. Yeah, I think that's probably a key difference. Back then, most of, or a lot of the events were, government or tourism focused, which, as golf, it is a great product for tourism destinations, and that was driving a lot of our schedule. But I think now we still have the opportunity around, tourism and destinations and showcasing the beautiful locations that we play at. But we also kind of hear a lot more about companies saying, or maybe they have even internal checks, kind of say, well, did you realize that we spend X on male sports and not quite as much on female? So yeah, I think that there is a movement uh, towards giving more recognition to to the female to the female aspect of the game.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess, well, moving forward, so you leave in 2012,
Yes.
go to the management side of
So
things,
there's a
sports
lot of years
management.
you have to cover, yeah.
I know it's a timeline right here. It's
Yeah.
good. And you come back as CEO in January 2020. How does this come about? And what was it like those 8 years off?
Yeah, so when I left in 2012, I mean, I thought that was it. That was it, really. That was
Yeah,
my time at LET. I'd achieved everything that I felt was necessary at the time, and it was time for me to move on. Um, so yeah, I went on to, set up a consulting company, and worked on numerous projects, not directly in golf, mostly all related to sports. One was a tech startup. Another was helping athletes transition out of professional sports into the business environment. So, various things like that were really interesting and very different to what I had been doing. And then as part of kind of I guess my history with the tour, but also my role in consulting, that I was approached by the LET at that time towards the end of October 2019, when the conversation around the opportunity with the LPGA was happening, and I was asked whether I would temporarily, in any case, help in kind of getting that structured. And then the opportunity came up whether I would consider taking on the role again. And I was interested, because I think the opportunity with the LPGA and unifying women's golf has always been something that I think is the right way to go with the sport. And that was kind of unique and different to what I had done previously in the role. So I kind of accepted the challenge, which turned out to be more of a challenge than I thought when COVID hit. But
yeah,
but we've managed to weather that crisis too.
yeah. And how proud are you of keeping the tour afloat during that period? And what were the challenges you faced? I mean, it seems obvious, obviously, but just talk to me what that was like.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard, because I mean we kind of launched that schedule in 2020, which already was a great improvement on 2019. We'd gone back to federations and managed to get them on board to put on a couple of new national opens in various countries, and we were really really excited with the progress that we'd made in such a short space of time. And then the world stopped. And I guess through COVID, the hardest part was knowing that if we don't have tournaments, players don't have a job. And but there was kind of no end to how we were going to get playing again. I have to say, one of the best aspects of COVID was the tours, all tours coming together, and all sports coming together on figuring out how we start competing again. And luckily, golf, being an outdoor sport, was one of the first that managed to get going again. But it wouldn't have been possible for the LET if we hadn't had the opportunity to tap into the know-how and the resources from the LPGA and the DP World Tour and the RNA, and everybody was hugely supportive of getting the professional game going again. So that was the kind of the first and biggest challenge. I think it then went on for a lot longer than we expected. Once we got playing, we thought, okay, now we have a system in place. It'll eventually pass, but through the rest of 2020, with testing and
Mm,
border restrictions and travel restrictions, and hardly any travel, and airplanes grounded, and all of that kind of aspect of it was really hard. And that went very much of that went into 2021. Most of 2021 we still played with having to test and getting all the all the entry forms and exemptions that were needed at many countries, and it was a whole new layer of work that the team had to do, as a kind of workload, but also there's extensive costs that went with that. But we got playing, and we, yeah, kind of came out the other end stronger, I feel.
Yeah, totally agree. And I guess we've got this record-breaking prize money schedule this year. How do you then go on to better that, and what's next for the LET?
I mean, the objectives are always the same. We want to kind of. I think we're getting there on the number of tournaments.
Yeah,
Whether that kind of fluctuates between 30 to 34, or however that is, it's sustaining now a schedule, working on the flow of events, which is not easy, because trying to schedule events around other sporting events, around the other tours, and lots of other sorts of complications that come up when we're trying to schedule. But working on the flow of events, that makes it easier for players. And we still have a little bit of the impact from COVID, really, when it all got very scattered, and we couldn't kind of go to the places when we wanted to. But we're getting there. But that's one thing, is getting the flow right, sustaining the events, and the priority now has to be pushing up those prize funds.
yeah, definitely. And we've got some really exciting events this year. We got the Aramco Team Series events again. We got the British Open at Walton Heath this year. So you
Yeah.
must just be really excited, right?
Yeah, I think it'd be great to have the Women's Open at Walton Heath.
Mm,
The London area always attracts enormous crowds, and it's a great venue. So I think it will be a special week, a great tournament. And obviously is a very significant tournament as a major. Yeah, and with the Aramco Team Series, the event at La Sella, being at 1 million,
yeah.
there is some really interesting stops at some great venues. We're very lucky at the venues that we get to play. So yeah, I think we're yeah, there's some kind of significant highlights in there that I think that both the tour and the team and the players, but also the fans, can kind of really get engaged with.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can't wait. I'm gonna hit you with this old egg question now. You've probably been asked it a million times, but where would you like to see the LET be in 5 years and in maybe 10 years? What's the goal?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter how often I get that question. It's always a very tough question.
Yeah,
Because I mean, I think I'm ambitiously, like, in the next 5 years, is driving up that minimum prize fund. So this year we went from 200,000 to 300,000 minimum prize fund on the schedule. I think we have to get to a stage where our smallest event is 500,000 prize fund.
yeah,
So hopefully that can happen in the next 3 to 5 year cycle. Getting in more sponsors, driving our television, so we get more uh, broadcasts, so more distribution around the world, but also drive those revenues into the tour. So the more revenues that we can generate, it all goes back into the game,
yeah.
into the tournaments, into the player services. So I think it's kind of more of what we're doing, but hopefully quickly.
Right, I'm gonna hit you with some rapid fire questions now as well, Alex.
All right.
So the
Okay.
fans can sort of get to know you a bit better. It's just sort of a list of favourites. So if I'll go through and see what best you do. Well, actually, the first one aren't really rapid fire if you go into a bit of detail, but favourite memory as a player.
The camaraderie. I think yeah, it's a family, and everybody has their own back, and you kind of have your friends that you travel with. It's a tough job, and it's a lonely job out there,
Mm,
and being able to have that support, and go back to the hotel and always end up with some sort of a joke or a giggle, because there is, as you can imagine, on the road there's plenty of funny times. So I think the kind of favorite memory would be kind of that community feel that there is to playing on the tour.
Just in general, yeah. Have you got like a
Yeah.
specific memory from tour?
A specific memory from tour, I don't know this. I mean, it's a long time ago when I played. Yeah, there's a lot, but it's yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be able to. It's just that it's a bunch of kind of small memories. I mean, I think three players with golf clubs, and every player that listened to this will identify with that. Is our technique at packing cars is pretty unique and it's pretty special. I mean, we can get three big suitcases and three golf bags into a small car. So we are very talented at that. I think we all have a future in removals if we
Yeah.
if we want to find an alternative, because we definitely know how to take advantage of every little space in a car.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, on that, favorite memory as CEO, so from the business point of view.
Um, every tournament,
Yeah.
every time you sign a new tournament, it's special. And over the years, I mean, I think, the first time we went to Dubai, it was a while back, but that was a 500,000 euro event, which was one of the biggest events at the time, and going to new territory. Going to China for the first time, working in India and seeing that development of that event. But also the impact that it's had on participation in India and how many members we have on tour now. So yeah, I think kind of probably every time we get a new tournament on
A new
board.
place.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
great. And have you got a favorite event ever in sort of your tenure?
Oh wow. I can't really say, can
You're not allowed.
I?
You get in trouble.
Yeah, no, I can't kind of not any that kind of. I mean, Solheim Cup is uniquely special as an experience. But that is unique. But no, yeah, not any other that kind of stands out.
Well, I was going to ask favorite win, but
They
I
all
guess all of them as well. But 2021 Solheim Cup win must have been pretty special, huh?
That was incredible. Yeah, I mean, I think I remember the also 2011 Solheim Cup win by
Yeah.
Europe, and where they were down, and with four players still on the course, and there was a rain delay. And we were just kind of all in the kind of our LET unit, just there with our guests, and suddenly it kind of turned around, and we're like, oh my goodness, Europe's going to win this, and kind of running to get to that final putt. And 2021 was kind of similar in a way that it was so competitive and down to the wire, and so many matches came down 18. It's just, it is so fought out, that event, and the quality of both teams is incredible, that it never disappoints.
Yeah, I think when we spoke to Suzanne a couple of weeks ago about 2011, she said that that rain delay just turned into one big pep talk, basically, which was
Yeah,
sort of worked in
and
our favor. Yeah, which is great. No, looking forward to this year very much. Favorite course,
yeah.
Alex?
One of my favorite courses is Sunningdale Old.
Yeah.
I love that course. So I would say that one, and Soto Grande in Spain.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, I love Sunnyvale. I love the clubhouse as well. It's just has that proper golf
Yeah.
club feel, doesn't it?
Mhm. And when it's kind of all the heath is out, it's just stunning. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I've
Mhm.
only played the new. I need to play the old. It's on my bucket list.
Yeah, it is pretty special. Yeah, I would recommend it.
Favorite things to do outside of golf?
Hiking, I guess. Funny enough, I guess it's kind of a variation of my golfing days, but without having to chase a golf ball around, which makes it slightly more pleasurable, I guess.
Yeah,
Um, so I enjoy walking and hiking, and yeah, that would be probably, when I find time, what I would like to do more.
nice. And final one, favorite sports person of all time?
Oh, wow. Favorite sports person of all time, and this is a quick fire question.
I
I'm
know.
not very quick at
This
it.
has not been very quick, has it?
Um, I would say Roger Federer.
Oh, nice. I see. I always say Nadal, so now we're sort of heads on this
Yeah, I
one.
know. Don't tell Nadal though, because being
Oh, and you're
Spanish probably
Spanish as
wouldn't make him
well.
very
What?
popular. Yeah.
This is
No,
terrible.
because Federer was there before, and yeah, I have obviously I like Federer. I mean, I like Nadal a lot, and I think he's an amazing athlete, and he's a great role model. But yeah, I guess from probably more closer to my era, I would say Federer.
Nice, yeah.
Mm,
Oozes class. Right, final
yeah,
one. If you've listened to the pod, which I hope you have been listening, Alex. I trust you've been listening. What's that?
yeah, sure, I have, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So we always do end it on a little quiz. So I've been cheeky. I've snuck in the quick fire and the quiz, but you're on good form. So let's keep you here with the quiz, right? So we've got 5
Okay.
questions here, sort of LET, testing your LET history. Now I haven't made them that easy,
Oh wow.
but you are our CEO, so I think who would I be as a podcast host if I didn't make them quite challenging for you, right? So
Okay, well, hopefully any listener has switched off by now. I won't, we'll have to listen to my
okay,
embarrassing moments. Yeah.
yeah. All right. First question: can you name the youngest winner on tour and the oldest winner on tour?
Yes, I think isn't the youngest, Taya Titikar was the youngest, wasn't she?
Correct. Yeah.
Just about, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just yet. She was 14 at the Thailand Championship.
Yeah.
Can you name the oldest?
Is it Laura? Dame Laura Davis?
No, Laura's second oldest at 47. There's someone that's older. 2014. That's your clue.
I wasn't working with the LET at the
I
time.
know. I've sort of.
Is it Trish? No.
Yeah, Trish. Yeah. Trish.
Trish?
40,
Okay.
48.
I just didn't want to age anyone either.
No,
so it's
no.
kinda like, I'm trying to do the math in my head if someone could be at that age at that time. All
Yeah.
right, Trish Johnson. All right, good.
That was the Scottish Open. This one you've already mentioned. That's your hint. But who has the biggest winning margin on the LET?
Biggest winning, I've already mentioned her. So is it Lynn Grant?
No. You mentioned her.
Is it
You mentioned
Aditi?
her. You mentioned her in the
Aditi, no.
last question.
Oh, Laura, yeah?
Yes.
Okay,
So
wow. All right.
Laura won the.
Sorry, Laura.
She won the Irish Open by 16 shots in 1995.
Okay.
Which is
All right.
pretty impressive.
Okay. I will register that now, and I will know for the future.
Yeah, right. These ones are a bit more about you. So you played between 2001 and 2005. In that time, there were obviously 5 Order of Merit winners. Can you name any of them?
Now I'm getting confused with my time as CEO, because that's kind of like I've seen a few. Raquel Carriedo.
Yes, she was the first one.
Yeah, and I think Paula Marti won.
Yes, number 2.
Did Suzanne win? Suzanne Petterson?
No, not in that 5-year stretch.
Okay, well I've given you 2. Obviously,
You're giving you 2, which I'll take. there was Laura 2003, Sophie Gustafsson 2004,
Okay.
and Ibn Tinning in 2005.
All right, Eben was the first one I was going to say, but that was because I remember it, but it was my first year also as CEO, so I wasn't sure. Yeah,
That's
that
okay.
was the first one that came to mind was Eben Tinning. Yeah.
Well, she was earlier, sorry, than Gustafsson, I think. But yeah, there's a 5. So you got 2.
Okay. All right.
And then
That's
the
okay.
last 2 questions are about your current tenure. So I hope you get this one. So when you returned in 2020, who won the first event under your tenure as CEO?
The first event was the Women's Scottish Open.
No, the first event of the season, of the schedule.
Of course, no, because we had got tournaments at the beginning of the year. Yeah, so it was Steph Kyriakou,
Yes.
wasn't it? In Vondel.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
I was kind of thinking post-COVID, yeah.
Yeah. And then the final one should be fairly easy. Who has won the most events since 2020, since you took over? Who's won the most events?
Who's won the most events? Is it Maya Starr?
Yes.
Or Lynn Grant?
Yes, Maya
Is it
Starr.
Maya?
She edges her, yeah. She's had 6 wins, so very good. No, I'm impressed. That was a good showing in
not
the
too
quiz.
bad. I didn't embarrass myself completely.
No, I make them difficult, and I've been called out for it. But I thought Alex is on. She's the CEO. Like I can't make this easy for her. So it was it was solid.
Well, all right. Well, I didn't make complete fool of myself, so that's okay then.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, that's everything.
All right.
It's been great chatting to you, Alex. Really enjoyed it. And hopefully it gave our fans sort of a chance to get to know you better on a personal level. So yeah, it's been great. Thanks for joining us on the LET podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No problem. We look forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, we'll see you out there. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
George.
So there we have it, Alex Armas breaking her journey down on the LET and revealing what the future holds as the tournament continues to grow from strength to strength. Really fun chat there and a pretty good showing on the quiz as well from Alex. As mentioned earlier in the show, sadly we do have a little break in the schedule now, with the next event taking place in May at the Jabra Ladies Open. But to fill the time, we'll be bringing you tons of guests here on the LET Golf Podcast between now and then. And if there is anyone you'd desperately like to have on the show, please drop us a follow and a message on socials at LET Golf, and we'll do our best to get them on. In the meantime, we hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the pod. If you did, please leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Music, or whichever platform you're streaming from, and we'll see you next week, where we'll have arguably the LET's most informed player joining the pod. It's one you really don't want to miss. Thanks for joining, guys, and we'll see you next week.
It's a competition clinching shot. Whoa! How about that?
The LET Golf Podcast, the official podcast of the Ladies European Tour.